The Everything Sequel podcast is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys and Brew Bar.
The Everything Sequel podcast contains explicit language. 'Cause we learned it from you, Dad. Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is the Dark Knight edition, I guess I'll say. Does that sound right to you, Tom? I don't know. My name is Michael Shantz. I'm from the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, of course, is Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. He'll give me an answer to my question right after this. Go, Tom.
Do I really look like a man with a plan? I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I caught one.
Did you give a lot of thought as to how much voice you should give that reading?
Oh, well, no, I just copied Heath Ledger. Because, as with everything in The Dark Knight, his performance is pitch perfect. Literally and figuratively.
Absolutely.
I mean, it has to be one of the most lauded performances in recent Hollywood cinema, especially as it was a posthumous performance. But I'm gonna say, having rewatched that movie recently, I think that performance is, if anything, underrated. Especially,
I think it's remarkable when you think about a performance that maybe dwarfs a performance by Jack Nicholson.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah,
or as at least in that conversation.
I was gonna say I'd still give it to Nicholson, but there are so many good Jokers. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches.
Of riches, exactly right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Christopher Nolan's Batman series that starts with Batman Begins, which we will not discuss.
Yeah, it's a reboot.
Right, it's a reboot. And so we're talking about, today, we're going to be, of course, ranking our two sequels, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, against each other, Tom, and we're going to have to declare them good or bad. Yeah. Christopher Nolan's Batman.
I want to propose an addendum.
All right.
That at the end of this episode, we do a bat rank. We rank Nolan against Burton / Schumacher.
I'm almost scared to see what you do.
So, we can give everyone
I'd like to know how high up Batman and Robin goes on that list.
So we can give everyone a greater sense of, perspective. One might say sonar.
Love it. All right. I mean, should we just hop into it? Do you want to talk about Nolan's Batman a little bit?
Yeah, we could. How did you find ranking and declaring for this this trilogy? I suppose we should call it. It's a.
But it's not a trilogy of sequels.
No, true.
The series is a trilogy, but we've got a duo of sequels.
Yeah. How did you?
A dynamic duo of sequels.
Nice.
Nailed it. Terrible.
Yeah.
I should retire.
Like Batman does.
Right.
Like Batman does, I would say conservatively 5 times in these 2 movies.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, to answer your question, it was pretty easy for me.
The whole thing?
Well, wait, what are we talking about?
Ranking and good and bad was all easy for you?
Ranking's easy, good, bad is hard.
That is the correct answer. I found it I found exactly the same problem. So,
okay.
It'd be interesting if we have the same problem, but different reasons why we have the same problem.
All right.
I don't think so, though.
Well,
I can't. I get, having watched several Batman movies with and parallel to you in the last few weeks.
Yes.
I have a pretty good sense of what you think is good Batman.
Well, and that was, speaking to that point, I can appreciate more than one style of Batman.
You have to, right?
Yeah. Right.
Or you're gonna hate like 60% of it.
Right. Yeah.
No,
okay.
I agree. I mean, so kind of an overall thought about Christopher Nolan's Batman compared to the Burton Schumacher era, and maybe even the Snyder era as well. We talked in our previous Batman series about what I kind of admired about those movies was that, like, overall there was a push and pull towards comic book Batman and 1960s TV Batman.
Yes.
Here, I think
even in Tim Burton's dark vision of Batman, that's still
absolutely
at play.
And here, I think part of Nolan's project was to purge 60s TV Batman from Batman.
Absolutely.
And I actually think
I see it a couple of times in The Dark Knight, but not really.
Yeah, no,
barely.
Yeah. But I think if there is any remnants of that 60s TV Batman, it's all in Batman Begins. And by the time we get to like the midpoint of Dark Knight, it's been cleansed of that, of any of those connotations. Although what's kind of quite interesting is that there are numerous moments from The Dark Knight Rises which are unironic and probably unknowing callbacks to things that happen in the 60s TV Batman with no humor or pantomime or style.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Exactly. Like lacking all the elements other than the content of it. But I was also surprised to see, like, I kind of divided this and, the previous Bat cycle. But there's a lot of callbacks to especially the Burton movies. Like, I was very surprised to see a lot of the same set pieces crop up again and again. It handled very, very differently, but
right. But I know what you're saying. Absolutely. All right. Do I assume we're on the same page, ranking wise?
Let's find out.
I'm Dark Knight Rise.
Whoa! No, we are not on the same page.
I almost fucked some shit up there. That's the other thing.
I'm
about
sorry.
this
I got to
series
take your first answer.
No.
If you were on The Price is Right, you can't suddenly go 50,000. No, 25,000. Anyway, go ahead.
Apologies.
Apologies to taste.
On the top of my list is The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Followed by The Dark Knight Rises.
Is the correct answer.
And that's, to me, there is no other way of looking at it.
No, I would go as far as to say that The Dark Knight is the peak of this particular trilogy also.
Yeah.
There's much I like about Batman Begins, but I think it's a far better movie.
I agree. But I really enjoy, I in prep, I watched Batman Begins again before I watched the two sequels.
You are a glutton for punishment.
Because that's who I am. I know. But I hadn't seen it in a long time.
And I'm saying that as the person who watched Batman v Superman twice in 2 days. So I know punishment.
More at least 3, right? Didn't you watch it last night too?
I limited. We just for those who are wondering.
Didn't you watch it in prep? And then watch it.
We just did a watch along for Batman v Superman, not versus Superman. Batman v Superman.
Batman v
and a bunch of other titles which I can't be bothered to remember. No, I just watched us. I couldn't face watching the movie again.
Oh, wow.
No. Yeah, I'd literally rather... This is how much I enjoyed that particular movie. I'd rather just sit and watch the two of us in our respective closets. At least we're not moving. At least our cameras aren't constantly in motion. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, that Snyder cut, by the way, could have gone from 4 hours to 2 hours just if you cut all the slow motion.
And that's not
what we're talking about.
Well, no,
today.
But that's not irrelevant because I think both the movies we're about to discuss could use some trimming, to put it lightly.
Mm-hmm. I was shocked to see how long Dark Knight Rises is.
Yeah, and it...
Like, my shoulders slumped.
Yes.
When I had to get to that
movie. Well, I also
made
you pay to watch it. Because there's a... So you pay twice. You lose an afternoon of your life. And you have to pay like $4 or whatever it is. But the strangest thing where it's like the only Batman movie that isn't available to watch for free.
Yeah, that is really weird to me, by the way.
And I get, they're relying on people being completists because we have to watch it for professional purposes. But
professional is a strong word, Tom.
For semi-professional purposes.
All right.
Hey, I got a mic guard now and a fluffy thing to put over my mic. I'm a podcaster.
Hell yes.
You're watching you're watching 300 hours of movies a week for your various endeavors in podcasting. If we're not professionals, no one is. So let's get...
I'm just saying there are several times throughout our podcast that we probably should issue apologies for our sound quality.
Well, yeah, but until Christopher Nolan issues that apology for these movies...
True.
I'm happy to offset that for a while.
Oh, I put that one on the T for you. How happy are you?
I got a lot to say. This is
nothing less.
We will be talking about audio and sound quality more than I think in any other episode we do.
All right, so we both have the same ranking. We agree that The Dark Knight is at the top of the list. The Dark Knight Rises is on the bottom of the list. Obviously, we're both going to call The Dark Knight a good movie.
Correct?
And so our problem is whether or not we're going to say The Dark Knight Rises is good or bad.
Yeah, we've
correct?
I think we've had similar
what we've been
journeys.
Alluding to.
We've had similar journeys. Before we get to that, I guess the question I have about The Dark Knight is it a good movie or a great movie? I know that's not part of our rankings, but it's a question that, I mean, it was automatically, without thinking, a good movie for me.
Yeah.
But I have serious questions about whether it's a great movie. It bounces between good and great, like a game of Pong, for me.
Well, and I think my opinion on that has changed over time. When I first saw it, the first day in the theater that I saw The Dark Knight, I was driving home, saw another movie theater, stopped and went and saw it again.
Interesting.
That's how great I thought it was the first time I saw it.
Did you watch it in IMAX?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's hard to get past that level of spectacle, and
right.
the IMAX camera work in The Dark Knight, and this may be forgotten because most people won't, whether they're watching it at the theater or on home video or streaming, won't be.
Yeah, he famously destroyed a camera.
Right, they won't be watching in IMAX.
1 of 5 in the world.
This movie was intended as a showcase for that technology.
Right.
And seeing, I similarly, I saw it in, I had to go to a special movie theater to see it in IMAX. Where I also I packed it into a double bill with Kung Fu Panda, which I do recommend.
That's pretty delightful.
I don't know under what circumstances you would get to see Kung Fu Panda in IMAX, but I really recommend you see that movie in IMAX. I now watched it on TV with my son recently, and it's like this is an IMAX level movie in terms of spectacle. Anyway, that's just a side note.
That's great. Love it. I was happy to go down that side route.
So I think but I think I've gone.
So on a first viewing, I thought it was a great movie. And I lamented that it didn't get a Best Picture nomination at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not sure that I'm in love with the idea that that's what kind of gave rise to having more than 5 Best Picture nominees, and it might be anywhere from 5 to 10 now. Usually it's in the neighborhood of 8.
Wow, we're getting some serious film history here.
Yeah.
We've got the rise of IMAX, the decline of the Oscars.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So for you, does this movie stay great officially, or is it just very?
I'm gonna say very. I'm gonna middle out on.
I think that's where I am
good.
Too.
The only and we will get to this, but the only thing that ever gives me pause is Heath Ledger's performance, because
because I think that's what the whole movie hinges on.
That they said that no one in soccer came closer to single-handedly winning a World Cup for a team than Diego Maradona for Argentina in, I think, 86.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue no one has come closer to single-handedly making a movie that is not great than Heath Ledger.
Yeah. I will agree with that completely, I think.
However, we've got to talk about The Dark Knight Rises.
We do. I think you were just putting it off.
Yeah,
for a
while.
I
didn't want to get there. So let me hear your thoughts, because I'm interested to know if they're similar to mine.
Here's me back then and me now.
2012, Mike.
2012. Michael Shantz did not want to admit that this was not a good movie.
Oh, Mike, you are speaking my language.
Yeah.
This is I phrased it to myself because, I'm a lonely individual. I phrased it to myself in my mind in exactly the same way. I don't want to give up that this is not good.
Right. Because at that time, everybody's still, this is fucking great, and it's even longer, and you weren't hearing a lot of people saying that this is a bad movie.
You're hearing a lot of people saying, I can't hear it. Except for the parts that I can hear too much.
Right.
But yeah, that's true. It just kind of... I felt that it just kind of skimmed by without too much people not delving into what this movie actually was, and sort of just sort of like going, well, it's kind of a satisfactory end to the trilogy. They had to wind it up.
Yes,
somehow, and this is as good a way as any. That was the kind of tone for me of the criticism around this movie. But when you look at it as an individual piece of filmmaking, that position becomes very difficult to maintain.
Yes, I agree. I mean, looking at my notes, The Dark Knight has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Dark Knight Rises has an 87%. So it dipped, but that's not a big dip. I mean, this movie was universally and critically popular.
I do wonder as well if a big part of that is Nolan trying to recreate so much of what he did in The Dark Knight that people almost forget which movie's which.
You might have a point there. But I think that because of The Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan, ever since, has been put into a position of you cannot speak ill of Mr. Nolan. That I think still exists. I think there's a hubris now that exists. Take a look at all the nonsense with Tenet.
Right.
I mean, that movie was supposed to be released last summer in July, and it was a hard Nolan, oh no, we're releasing it on July 7th or whenever it was supposed to come out. That's the day. We're doing it. Followed by, oh, you're saying I can't? Well, then August, and we're doing it. And it just kind of got pushed back, and it was as though he couldn't believe somebody would deign to not let him release his movie exactly when he wanted, and that $1 billion ticket sales dollars worth of people wouldn't go see it in a pandemic.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not the time to, I realize that Christopher Nolan has a bee in his bonnet about people seeing movies on film and in theaters. But
which I agree with him on.
But I was going to say now that wasn't the time to really push that argument on people. Right. To really insist that people gather to the detriment of their safety.
Yes, exactly right. So at any rate, I think The Dark Knight is so strong a movie that it has made him almost unassailable when The Dark Knight Rises comes out. But I remember thinking at that time, this movie is not as good, But like I said, I think I didn't enjoy it, but never wanted to admit that to myself even.
Yeah, it has the essence of quality without any quality.
Yes, and so that's the thing is, so when you're declaring this movie officially as good or bad, there is still so much quality filmmaking in this movie. But I don't know that that's enough to call this a good movie.
I don't even know if I could argue that necessarily. I mean, maybe it's just that, there's enough in the dark, there's enough virtuoso brilliance, whether it's in the acting or the direction or even some of the writing in Dark Knight, that you just don't notice that there's a fundamental incompetence behind some of the filmmaking. But I guess in Dark Knight Rises, I spent a lot of the time thinking, Christopher Nolan needs better technical people around him, especially in the sound arena. So I don't even know as I go as far as saying that there's quality.
Well,
quality. I suppose visually,
I think it's
unassailable, but
just as interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put my hat in the ring and say I think this is a bad movie.
I think I'm on the same page. And even now, it makes me feel uncomfortable saying that.
It makes you feel uncomfortable. I said Batman and Robin is a good movie. Imagine how I feel saying The Dark Knight Rises is a bad movie. Talk about hubris.
That's... You are not wrong about that, my friend.
So yeah, but that's...
But it literally, I'm on the tightrope. I mean, I could put one toe on... I could dip a toe on one side or the other.
Do you know what I had in the back of my mind that kind of made me think that I could always fall back on this position and call it a good movie? It was that this is the kind of movie I could put on a Sunday afternoon while I'm folding laundry or doing ironing or something and just have there as a kind of passable, enjoyable movie. And, you know, to me, that's a good movie. Watching it for these purposes, directly after The Dark Knight, thinking of it in totality of, you know, as a single movie and also as the end of a trilogy, I didn't get any of that. It wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't fun. Batman and Robin is a
That's
flawed
the other
movie.
thing, is it's devoid of fun. There's humor
The black
in The Dark
hole
Knight.
of fun.
Yeah. It is sucking up fun like a black hole. But fun cannot exist in The Dark Knight
And
Rises.
for some weird reason, and this is such a minor part of the movie, I don't know why I was hitching my wagon to this particular star. But I was just like, I just remembered, oh, there's that really cool scene with Ben Mendelsohn, who's a, you know, character actor I love.
Yeah. Me too.
And I completely Mandela affected that was a cool scene. Because it was Ben Mendelsohn. And at the end, I'm like,
I was thinking in my mind,
Rogue One?
what scene are you talking about?
Am I thinking of the scene in Rogue One? I think I am.
I think I was just going to say, you must be thinking Rogue One.
There's nothing cool about this. And I ended up thinking that, you know, he's one of the many characters in both movies who, you know, could have seen the cutting room floor and would be none the worse. That's not on him. I love that actor.
No.
But
Absolutely.
This is no Killing Me Softly. So...
all right, so we're both on the bad side,
I think I'm really happy to hear that you had all the same thoughts, because I thought I was being unfair to a movie that was, you know, a movie like this is always hard to make. The fact that it's the end of the trilogy compounds that. The fact that an actor who you were probably going to bring back and rescue the movie again died. Right? I mean... The way what happens to the Joker character in Dark Knight, I wouldn't have said this at the time, but I wouldn't have said this before the Dark Knight. I would have said that obviously it matters. Obviously, I don't want Heath Ledger to have died, but in terms of the Dark Knight, I didn't think that going into the movie that Joker character was going to last beyond the movie.
Oh, I see.
But the way that his story ends up, I'm like, I think they want to keep him in the.
Universe.
Yeah, they want to keep him up their sleeve as a kind of like a Hannibal Lecter character. It was my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really fucked them, and there's something weird going on with... I mean, we talk about this in the next episode, but I think they're planting seeds of origin stories that they never followed up on, of villains.
Interesting.
And so this was so for whatever reason, whether it was just Heath Ledger dying and that upsetting the balance of things, I mean, that happens. Look at Carrie Fisher in the Star Wars movies, that they just decided to go in a totally different direction. And, you know, Bane is a left turn in so many ways. Yeah. So I'm sympathetic to the circumstances of making this movie and making
I can understand
good movie out of it. But, you know, I have, and again, this goes back to the Batman and Robin, why I call Batman and Robin a good movie, why I'm calling this a bad movie, is I had fun with that movie. Whereas Dark Knight Rises, I think it's devoid of fun, but also, you know, it wants to punish you for even thinking about having fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You're right.
that's why in the end
when the biggest joke is a football player running across a football field that's exploding behind him.
I love that you
fun,
described that as a joke. I love that you described that as a joke, because only in this movie could such a horrible moment of humanitarian atrocity be seen as a joke. But you're right. You're right.
Yes. All right. Well, so really quickly, do you want to rank the two series against each other?
Okay.
Do you want to do just sequels still, or are you including the originals too in this particular ranking?
No, let's just stick with sequels.
All right.
Go. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Batman Returns. No surprise there.
Top on the list.
Dark Knight.
So I think that is that easy for you, by the way?
Again, when it gets to Dark, it's only about Dark Knight Rises and Batman and Robin. Okay. So you know Batman Forever's going on the bottom of my list. I'm really close
on Batman Returns and Dark Knight. I could invert them.
Whoa! This is great, because then having done an identical ranking, now we're really getting to the heart of our different feelings. No, I would never do that.
Never?
No. In no universe would that happen.
I am on your side, and Batman Returns is at the top of my list, but I mean, before I'd watched that movie, if you'd asked me this 2 months ago, I probably would have said Dark Knight. I would have said Dark Knight. So, thanks to the podcast and the rewatch, Batman Returns, top of my list, then The Dark Knight. Then what do I do?
Well, then I would go back,
because I am bad movie for Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, and The Dark Knight Rises.
Well, I'm gonna go and Robin, Dark Knight Rises, Batman Forever, right on the bottom.
Wow.
And it's not just the good and bad disparity that makes me rank it that way. As those who have listened to this podcast before knows, I have my rankings and my good and bads don't always match up. But I think about the experience of, like, I know we disagree on this, but I'm like, what did this movie set out to do? What should it be doing? How did it achieve or not achieve that?
Yeah, but I think you're. I think the one thing you can, like, we always cut the head off the snake, right? So we're not, we're not talking about Batman or Batman Begins. And I think you're really good at separating movies from their original. One of the reasons I hated Batman and Robin so much is because we're so far removed from those first two Batman movies that I find it unforgivable. I did at that time, and I had a hard time of letting that go until I talked to you. And you might have rightly so said, Batman and Robin's not trying to be anything other than what it is.
I think
you're not wrong about that.
I think right is generous. It's
I'm not enough for me to call it a good movie. I'm not insane like you, but
I think we need to go. We need to Obi-Wan it and say from a certain point of view. But yes. I would say Dark Knight Rises is more, and Batman Forever are more objectively bad movies. That, like, when you set aside the fact that,
I think you're alone on that count, but I mean, within the world, you might have convinced me. I think I'm just babbling right now because I don't want to say how the rest of my list plays out.
Go for it. Put it out there.
Oh, Tom. I don't know what to do.
Go with your heart. Whatever's on your tongue.
I don't hate Batman Forever as
No.
much as you do, but I hate it.
You didn't watch it on a plane in 1995. That's why.
That's true. All right. Oh, God. Because I see... Oh, my God. I want to say The Dark Knight Rises is next.
That's fine. That's what any sane person would do, Mike.
I know, but I might not be right. Like, I'm thinking still... I think I still am like Dark Knight Rises, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Even though you have brought me onto your side on Batman and Robin.
But you like things about Batman Forever.
Yeah.
And you like things about Dark Knight
Very
Rises,
few,
I assume.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. We've got to have like a control experiment.
I feel like I can't.
like
yeah, exactly.
What would most people say?
I think most people are gonna. I think I think we're gonna catch shit about The Dark Knight Rises.
I want to hear
don't
what
think most people are on our side.
I want to hear
but...
what people think is good about that movie.
Me too.
And I also want to hear what people think is kind of unassailably good about Dark Knight beyond Heath Ledger. Because I have problems with that movie. Many, many, many and varied problems with it.
All right, well, we're going to get into it. All right.
The first scene of the movie is not one of them.
No.
If Dark Knight was a 5-minute movie, it would be the best movie of all time.
All right, so officially, you and I are both ranking Dark Knight on top, Dark Knight Rises on the bottom, and we are both saying Dark Knight good, Dark Knight Rises bad.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a differing opinion, please seek us out. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram or Twitter. Please send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. We will read your email on the air. All right. That's it, Tom. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions.
Unless you're a terrorist. Unless you're clearly a terrorist who wants to get something out there. Just thought I'd add that.
Well done. We got to draw a line in the sand somewhere, don't we? All right. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, I am Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. We're going to be coming at you next time for the 2008 film, The Dark Knight. Say goodbye, Tom.
These conversations used to end with an unusual request.
Nice.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer. If you're anything like me, you spend the majority of the day wondering whether you want coffee, beer, or wine. Whichever way you fall, Brew Bar has you covered. Located in the heart of 3rd Avenue Village in glorious downtown Chula Vista, California, which is also my neck of the woods,
Brew Bar is a coffee shop, bar, and eatery rolled into one delightful package. Tim and Alex run the place, and let me tell you, listeners, these guys know their coffee. And after you've been in their company, so will you. They turned me on to pour over, and it's literally all I drink now. If for some crazy reason you don't want to try the best coffee in the world, they've got espresso drinks, all kinds of teas, and even coffee cocktails. You heard me? Coffee tails. And we're just getting started. Bottle service on craft beer and wine, alcoholic and caffeinated potions, an all-day food menu with plenty of vegan options. All served up in an atmosphere hip enough to know you're getting the best quality, but not too hip that you feel the need to drive to 7-Eleven and get a bucket of brown swill. Brew Bar. It's the best place to be for beer, wine, coffee, and tea. And if you go, you might even see me.